it's probably easy to explain with a little video. And the great thing about Nomad is that the lighting is so real-time and interactive, so you can kind of play with it. So what I have here is I've only got the exposure, sorry, the environment light turned on. So if I turn it up, you can see what this is doing. So I can rotate that around and find something that sort of works. But primarily what I was doing was I was just playing with these two key lights here. So this backlight, pretty obvious that it's just trying to get that strong kind of cyan green highlight across the back. Often when you're trying to sort of match a reference like that illustration you have there, a little trick that I have worked out that hopefully most people know is you can move the light obviously just by dragging on it, but this little green handle here, you can use that to aim the light, but what's quite handy is you can drag it out, and when you drag it across the surface, it'll snap onto the surface. So you can use this to to really quickly set sort of spotlight directions. So if I kind of look from the front and looking at the reference, maybe that could be a little bit lower. So I'll drag it down to there, and then I'll drag this highlight back up across there. So that's kind of more or less matching the reference. And then that front light, if I turn that back on again, you can see that in your reference, it was sort of casting more of a light across the cheekbone. Obviously, this guy has sort of different cheekbones to your character, but I mean, it's the same idea. So if I zoom back to where the light is, it's predominantly from up high, but maybe I'll also try dragging it a bit more in front and put it there, and then look from the front, and I'll throw that onto the cheekbone there. And if I look at this one by itself, I'm looking at the reference again, you just sort of, you can look at lights one by one just to see what's going on. So here, I was just playing with the softness to get some sort of gradation effect, because it looks a bit more interesting, and playing with the cone angle just so it's sort of highlighting where I want it to highlight. You can even play with the size, that can sometimes affect it as well, but actually that looks kind of better, I think. So it's darker, but it's still getting this nice highlight. And then the other thing I was talking about was the interplay between sort of roughness and the surface. So if I select the character, what I've done is I've put an extra layer on top. In fact, let me do this again from scratch. I'll delete that. I'm going to go add layer, and on this layer, what I painted was a layer of kind of like shininess. So you can see here I've got everything else turned off. I've only got roughness turned on. And I'm going to get it to look always like too shiny. Hit paint all, and then on that layer, I can play with this. So I can just dial it back to what I need that to be. So kind of like that. Now I'm going to turn the backlight back on, the room light. And then if I want to get like a bit more shading, I can try turning the environment light back on, and I'll play with this. So I'll turn the exposure down so it's just sort of filling in a bit. I'll rotate it to where it kind of feels nice, maybe like that. And that's looking maybe a little bit too sweaty, so I'll play with this roughness again, so just to dial it in where it should be. And this is also using a lot of the post-processing. So if I turn this off, you can see this is the raw render. If I turn it on, I've been using the occlusion just to get a bit more sort of shadows into it. And the tone mapping is doing a lot of work. So this is reintroducing contrast, and I'm playing with the saturation here. So obviously too much, it starts to look a bit too lurid. But 1, it's a bit too dull, so I've got a sort of 1.2, I think, like that. Using a bit of curvature to also bring out a bit more shading. You can turn it off or on as you want. And I find the sharpness helps as well. So I probably won't use grain, but I will turn on sharpness. It just helps to sort of sharpen up the image a bit. And again, looking at this now, again, it's probably a little bit too sweaty again, so I'm going to go back to that layer, and I'll turn it down a bit more. So the highlights are a bit more broad, like that. Yeah, there you go. Oh, and I suppose to talk about the subsurface. So if you kind of flip between the regular shader and the subsurface, it's not a lot of difference, but you can see it's just overall kind of softening off the diffuse shading. It just, again, sort of helps with that skin tone stuff. Yeah, that's enough tips.